Have you read 1984? Hands up if you read 1984. Wow, that's pretty good. How many? Yeah. The fact is, research on several occasions show that at least a quarter of the people who claim to have read 1984 are lying. So I'm afraid we have to take points away from you. Yeah. Can you put your hand up if you said you'd read it, but actually secretly you haven't?
Oh, come on.
Come on.
You look very secret.
Yes. The honest man in the back has earned some more the audience. I have to confess here, I studied English at university. I haven't read it.
I should hope not. What kind of English degree would include something written as late as 1940?
Well, that's true. Yes, we read things written in 1370. But I kind of felt I didn't need to, which is an appalling thing to say.
Oh, it's terribly good, Stephen.
Well, I kind of... I
Look at
know...
all the TV shows named after it.
Two, at least. Room 101 and Big Brother.
Oh, that's Room my...
Oh, sorry! I know how it opens. It opens with the clock striking 13. I know the character's
really
called
good,
Winston.
and they made a film of it with John Hurt.
Yeah.
It's hard to bother, isn't it, when there's a great film of a book? I was the same with A Muppet Christmas Carol. I think it's been done. I know what the turkey does in the story. Why read it?
It is a masterpiece of a film, it has to be said.
I lie a lot to impress people. And I'll be honest now, I have never read The Hungry Caterpillar. I get so close to the end, and I get too emotional. I'm like, he's going to die. He's overfed himself. I can't do it, and I stop. So I just pretend that I've read it.
No, he becomes a butterfly.
Is he Kaiser?
Spoiler!
So sorry, that was wrong of me. Oh. I knew someone who gave away the end of Psycho. It's nearly as serious as that.
Oh,
there are some books that you don't need to bother reading, like good books that you don't need to bother reading. Like, it's controversial to say it, but I don't think Harry Potter is worth reading. It is so expertly narrated on the audiobook.
Yes, sir.
After I listen to the Harry Potter books, with you narrating them, everything in my life is narrated by Stephen Fry. All my thoughts, my internal monologue is now Stephen Fry's voice. Even the dirty thoughts are Stephen's voice. No, because it makes it acceptable. I had a sexual thought the other day. I put my hand in the air. I had a sexual thought about Camilla Parker Bowles. It didn't seem weird because Stephen was saying it to me.
Which military leader does this mighty Norfolk oak commemorate? Yes, Joe.
Nigel Farage.
Well.
It's a very big oak.
No, it isn't mighty, is it? So it's not that old, in fact.
Yeah, it could be.
It's about 80 years old. Not quite 80.
Not quite 80.
It was a
Kitchener.
sapling. It was a sapling 78 years ago.
So, it'd be too late for Kitchener.
Not Mosley.
You're in the right ballpark, but even more of a military leader.
Not Hitler.
Adolf, as you rightly say, hit, as you pointed out, le. Yes.
There's a commemorative oak tree in Norfolk.
The fact is, everybody who won a gold medal in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin was presented with a sapling of an oak tree.
Our oak trees.
Well,
Proud, you mean they've got oak trees in Germany?
Yes, I'm afraid the German for oak is Eich, so Eichmann is Oakman.
Is it really? I feel
Some
soiled.
of the oak trees are on the German side.
Yes, our word acorn and oak come from the Eich.
Proud English oak. Well,
Yeah, hearts of oak. I know. Anyway, the Hitler oaks, yeah. There are none left in Britain except the one in Norfolk, which is surviving, as you see.
You would assume that it's not going to really last that long once people watch this.
Well, no, they might go and hack it down. A lot of Americans didn't keep theirs for that reason. Jesse Owens actually did keep his. He won how many gold medals at the...
4.
4, quite right. And one of his Hitler oaks survives in his old training school in Cleveland, Ohio. Gave another to his mother. Some US athletes threw theirs away, as I say.
What a lovely present.
Well, it was handed out by the committee rather than Hitler himself, but they were, of course, associated so much with his
I gave my mum a
regime.
pair of Saddam Hussein's pants for her.
Anyway, there you go. Congratulations to all those who did win. Now, what's this guy on about? That was a 1972, rather before its time, piece of rap by an incredibly famous Italian called Adriano Celentano, who is not known here. He had a huge hit with this, which is called Prisen Collinen Sinai Chuso. You can see it written up, and that'll help you.
Oh, wow.
Prisen Collinen Sinai Chuso, in the Colmen Seuvan, Prisen Collinen Sinai Chuso, all right.
Which is Italian for Gangnam Style.
Yeah. What it is just babble.
Yeah,
it's babble that is supposed to sound like English. To an Italian, it sounds more or less like English sounds.
There's that famous clip of the person on Malaysia's Got Talent where they're singing Mariah Carey, Can't Live Without You, which is possibly the greatest song ever recorded. But she's heard it clearly through Second Party and doesn't know what the lyrics are, so she bursts into the chorus and she just goes, Can live without you. This is about a guy called Ken Lee.
Anyway, that was a huge hit in 1972. #1 in Italy, and it was in the top 10 in France and in Belgium and the Netherlands. It's babble that is supposed to sound like English. But in 2011, London-based filmmakers Brian and Carl produced a wonderful film called Squirrel, which used a similar technique. The dialogue is actually gibberish, but sounds like English. It's had over 7 million viewers, and we can actually show you a bit of it here. Run VT.
Swine for me, display the Joe drink all around the masturbatation town, while I for mass the Pope for Crean, and... You want for why I chose Farine and all? You want for why I bleed the whole chase Patrine? You wanna get for what?
That wasn't gibberish, but we've got them here tonight. Brian and Carl, thank you very much. One of the hardest things to do in the world is to talk gibberish without it becoming... Did you actually learn your gibberish?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you imagine that there was sense behind it? He thinks she's forgotten his birthday. Is that what...
That's one interpretation. I'm not an actor, but Fiona, who's in the film, is an actress, and so she needed to know what this was about. She needed the intentions, but I think it was important to kind of have a sort of a sense behind what we were saying.
It was a lot like what you were talking about with the Mariah Carey, Ken Lee and stuff. We sort of had the sentences and then kind of garbled them and kind of wrote down the garble as it came out.
I understood more words in that clip, though, than I did in 5 series of The Wire.
And are you Australian, but?
Yeah, I'm Australian, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Because we have a similar thing that we do where we don't use words...
Do you think I haven't noticed?
Yeah, exactly.
You have another thing you do, which is sound as if you've got heartburn. Bizarre reason. I don't know why that
is. That's how they get the actors on Home and Away to do an emotional scene. They just give them heartburn.
Right.
Oh, Stephen, the cafe's burnt down again. Australians will make enough noises that could be a sentence, but there are no actual words in it. It's just... I'll try. So, Carl, you having a good night? You all right?
Yeah, it's all right, man.
You enjoying your time at QI?
I was all right, I know what you're about.
I have a similar thing that I can do with posh people. This gentleman in the front row here, with the blue trousers.
There you go. Anyway, sorry, that's wonderful, Brian and Carl. Thank you very much indeed. Very welcome. What form of transport might a caterpillar use?
Do they hitch on to things, then?
They do. I wonder what they hitch onto.
Furry mammals. Furry mammals carry a lot of stuff about.
They do, but in this case, they use each other. They use a principle, which is quite fun, and that is that the one that's on the bottom layer is going at a certain speed, and the one above, twice the speed, and the one above that, thrice the speed. So, all told, the whole group goes faster. And we've done a little experiment using stop-motion photography.
It's going to come in.
Yeah, that's awful, isn't it? But if you watch, we've got 2 yellow pieces there, and they're both moving 1 step at a time. But you'll see the one on the top layer is going faster, and the single one can't catch up with it. And that's the principle they use, that the top layer is going quicker. And so that's how caterpillars move at greater speed to get to where they need to be.
Like a travelator.
The travelator.
Except when people get on the travelator, they slow right down.
Oh, it's so annoying.
It drives me mad. When I get on a travelator, I really make the most of it.
Me too.
I accelerate.
I love the way that the windows and everything just speed past you. Oh, it's
Travelator!
People actually, even on the travelator, they just stop.
They stop.
I know.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but it's
Just
doing
keep
the moving
walking.
for you, so you don't have to move.
That's why we're a nation of morbid... Oh, dear.
Or if you have small children, they turn around and run the other way. Let's put your coin in your life.
You have to do quite a lot of loud coughing and... and my flight's about to leave sort of stuff in order to get people just to move across. It's just politeness to take one side of the travelator.
Or you say, get out of the way!
That's an option too. It's the least imaginative present that you could think of.
Oh,
Yes, gift.
well, it's got to be the gift voucher, hasn't it?
Yes.
The gift voucher is, I mean, it's heroically bad. It's walking into a shop and going, yeah, I've got some money here. Could I exchange this for... This works everywhere. Could it just work in this one shop? Or could it just be for a limited time period with some terms and conditions, but worth the same amount? Could I make this universally acceptable thing useless?
Well, without wishing to insult your country, it is the #1 present that women want in America is a gift card. Are you ashamed of your people?
I'm humiliated for Americans everywhere.
So who invented the gift card? Because it is a terrible idea. If you try and sell it to someone as an idea going, well, look, take the money...
It isn't it clever? It's $30 billion a year in America. $30 billion industry.
And how much of that is actually spent? Because I've got some Woolies vouchers at home.
I'll tell you. In America, only 75%. About a quarter is never redeemed because the recipient forgets or the time period elapses before they get to the shop to redeem it.
Period. You know, like money doesn't have.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. I know. It's astonishing.
I've got one at home, I can't find it.
Oh, that's annoying.
It's for a day driving around Brands Hatch or something.
Oh, well, no, that is fun.
That's really fun.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think it's probably expired.
I got one. It was an hour in a helicopter. That was it. Just an hour. There was no mention of a pilot or whether it would take you anywhere or whether it would even go off the ground. You just sit in a helicopter.
Someone outside.
Ouch! Come on, let's go on. I never redeemed it. It was a shame.
What were the first gift certificates?
Book tokens.
Book tokens, right answer. And they were in 1932 by a man called Raymond, who was a publisher, who was rather disappointed to see one Christmas, when he saw all these presents amongst his friends and family, only 3 were books. And he realised the reason was that people were not confident about giving books because they couldn't be sure that the recipient would like that book. So he thought, why not just give them something that is good for any book they like, which is what a gift book token is. So there we are, that's them. When did your great-great-great-great-grandmother throw her pants out?
Cliff Richard.
That's good, is that?
Great, how many
4 greats and a grandmother.
Great,
That's
grandmother.
Yeah.
So
Victorian.
Early Victorian
Early
era.
Victorian. So didn't they get the celebrities of the time were people who were doing useful things like Isambard, Kingdom Brunel or someone?
No.
No one does suspension like him.
He does.
I love his cantilevers.
I like the fact that your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was always old.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
Even when she was throwing her knickers at people, she was an old lady.
I thought it was ridiculous. It was a celebrity of the time.
He was a celebrity. And the most famous pant-throwing receptor was Tom Jones, or is Tom Jones, of course, still very much alive and booming.
What do you mean still very much alive? Have you not seen The Voice?
You don't get this phenomenon of like throwing your pants at someone, because at what point do you go out with extra pants? Do you literally go, I've got the car keys, travel card, pants on, pants to throw?
Oh, the gesture is meaningless unless they're the pants you were wearing for function. I mean, you just brought a bag of other pants. It might as well be a term of abuse.
But what if the David Cameron, what if you've got flares on David. You're watching a David Cassidy thing. And do you take them off down one leg, or do you take them all off?
We still haven't clearly
Garibaldi.
Not Garibaldi.
So we're talking
We're in the right area with music.
He was popular, Garibaldi.
Yes, but he wasn't a musician.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Is it composer?
Bourbon, custard cream.
Composer, but a performer, the most extraordinary performer of his day.
Liszt.
Franz Liszt is the right answer. Absolutely. Well done. We got there. It looks more as if you've been attacked by a swarm of bees, but that is supposed to indicate ladies and their husbands trying to restrain them. These women, some of them fainting, throwing kisses. You can see they're absolutely rapturous. And they were completely astounded by this man, his virtuosity.
Was he as good as Liberace? I knew that what I'm saying. Look at him, he's livid.
He was an astounding composer as well as a remarkable pianist. And, of course, he was exploiting the new developments in pianos and the arrival of the pianoforte as opposed to the forte piano, which preceded it. And he was remarkable for many other reasons as well. He had affairs with a lot of people, including Lola Montez. Do you know of Lola Montez? An extraordinary Irish woman who'd had an affair with Ludwig of Bavaria and caused a revolution in Bavaria, in fact. There she is. And he then, amazingly, Liszt became an abbé, an abbot, essentially, a man of the cloth. He was very thin and tall, Charles Halley said. His perfectly lank hair so long that it spreads over his shoulders, which looks very odd. When he gets excited and gesticulates, it falls right over his face, and one sees nothing of his nose. So he was like an old English sheepdog, perhaps, in that sense. He had Olga Janina, who was a former pupil with whom he'd had a fling, who pursued him all over Europe and eventually got so upset and hysterical that she stalked him and tried to stab him and commit suicide. So he really, you know, he was a star. I mean, a real star.
It's a very odd thing, that. The idea that the guy that killed John Lennon was such a huge fan of John Lennon. It's a very weird thing when people get so...
Rich man kills the thing he loves. Let this be known. The brave man does it with a sword, the coward...
How many fans have you got, Jimmy?
Not enough to be worried. It's a lovely level of fame, a comedian, I think. People come up and tell you jokes all day, which is very pleasant, but no one's ever outside your house going, I made you a cake.
It's always the Daily Mail, Jimmy. They're always outside.
They're happy.
Yeah. So, yeah, the ladies went loopy for Liszt, the Justin Bieber of his day. That's hardly right. Come on. But, you know...
All right, Harry Styles.
Great stop it. He was a genius. What's the funny thing about lightning?
Oh. The funny thing about it?
Well, given that it is a natural phenomenon that mankind has been aware of for all the time that we've been on the planet...
We're still captivated, freaked out and surprised by it.
And surprised and don't understand it. We can't explain it.
We know a little bit about it. We know that thunderbolt and lightning is very, very frightening. It's white, it's forked.
Yes.
All sheet. It's electric.
All sheet, you say? No, not all sheet. Sheet lightning is the same as forked lightning. It's just hidden by a cloud.
Oh, so it's an illuminated cloud that gives that band of...
Exactly.
OK.
Exactly. But one of the myths about it is that it will always strike what part of a building?
Highest.
The highest part. And that's not true. We've got a photograph to show you how untrue that is, of it hitting Grant's tomb there. There's a little branch of it hitting the top, but the huge part of the fork there is hitting two-thirds of the way up. Half of lightning goes up from the ground, and about 300 feet up, they meet each other. I know it's weird. Yes.
So lightning goes upwards?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Wrong.
No. 90% of strikes on the Empire State Building, for example, are ascending strikes rather than descending strikes. I know it seems astonishing, but photography allows us to see this phenomenon of it coming up from the ground and meeting with sky forks.
My dad used to, whenever there was lightning, we had to open the knife drawer and put a tea towel over the knives to avoid it coming through the window and striking, and turn the TV off. It's the only time the TV was ever turned off. It's quite a big thing.
Is that not doing it?
You'd open the drawer to cover it with the tea... No, there's something about the tea... You know, tea towels have got that
Did you not
earthing quality.
Did you not have anything else that was metal?
No, I think that's all we had. Can I say we have no piercings in our
How can lightning be beautiful? Can you picture a beauty that comes from lightning? I mean, obviously, there's something stark and amazing about photographs of lightning, which is not unbeautiful, but actually the effect of lightning can be staggeringly beautiful.
Oh.
It's called a Lichtenberg figure, after a very remarkable scientist called Lichtenberg, and he noticed when people had been struck by lightning, there was a very remarkable Yeah, and he... and if you can see it here, and you can see pictures of it there. There, I'm holding one. That's a bolt feather. This is artificially produced, and it's like a beautiful ferny kind of thing.
You'd get that level of detail, would you, on the skin?
Absolutely. You'll show it on the human skin. There. It actually has rather beautiful nipples as well.
Yeah.
It's not... Do you know what? It's not a price worth paying, though, for that, is it?
It looks like a tattoo where there's a plant on the side of his face.
Yeah.
Round the back there's a massive pot.
Yeah.
Does that remain like that?
Let's just say one wouldn't throw it out of bed.
Actually, that would be cruel. It should have been struck by lightning.
What are deserts mostly made from? Yes, Sarah.
Sands.
Oh, thank you.
What?
You'd think, wouldn't you? Yeah. Not the case. No, only 1/3 of the world's land surface is desert, and only a small proportion of that is sand. North American deserts are around 2% sand. No more than that. There's Monument Valley. Globally, on average, only 20% of all deserts is sand, a fifth. The remainder is made of rock, shingle, salt, or even snow.
And camels.
And camels.
Camel
Lots
poo.
of cigarettes all over the desert. The driest desert in the world is...
The Gobi Desert.
No. Any thoughts?
Antarctica.
Well, there is an argument for saying the Antarctic is a dry desert.
It doesn't rain there, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't. But Atacama is considered the driest land desert. Some weather stations there have recorded no rain whatsoever, not one.
What a boring job.
Yeah. The largest desert on Earth is Antarctica. Even though much of it is under snow, the one area that is the driest, man who shouts a lot, are the Murdo Dry Valleys.
It's Red Indian now.
Yeah. And they consist mostly of... They consist... Man who shouts a lot. The McMurdo Dry Valleys are so dry that dead animals mummify rather than decay. So, it seems that if you want to identify a desert, the best way to do so involves looking for rain, not for sand. Alan, would you take a bullet for me?
Yes, Steve.
Oh, thank you. Very good. Oh.
Sorry, no, I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. Because you couldn't. I mean, that's to say, in the standard way, it's done. The diving in front of someone, you can't take a bullet for someone.
Well, you'd have to anticipate,
You'd have to anticipate in such an incredible way.
Accidental, you know, acts.
Accidental, it would. Because, of course, a bullet goes at 1,000 feet per second. That's from a handgun. 700 miles per hour, that is.
So the notion that the Secret Service are going to throw themselves in front of the President is just silly.
Well, it has happened. It happened in the case of John Hinckley, who had a pop at Ronald Reagan in 1981. That's it, exactly.
This is how I would do it. I wouldn't use my head.
No, very sensible.
I'd use my arse.
Your arse.
My leg.
I would use that.
I would use Bill.
Supplementary question. Why do people fall over when they've been shot?
It's just been shot.
No, is the answer.
Shock.
Because they're dead?
A dead person would fall over, obviously, where they've been shot in any way.
Not the speed, like the speed and the
impact. No, none of those things will knock you over. No. Yeah, well,
unbelievable.
The impact.
The impact.
What a bad...
It's
I
amusing.
banged my head on the fireplace the other day and I fell over.
That would do it.
Wait, is this a lavatory question?
No, we already have.
No, I don't know.
Because they've seen it done in movies.
Really?
So in the Wild West, when they had a shootout, and because they'd never seen a cowboy film, people just carried on standing.
Yeah. Most people, when they're shot, don't know they've been shot.
Right.
We have it on the authority of the FBI Academy Firearms Training Unit that people generally do fall down when shot, but only when they know they have.
Right.
That's the point. Regardless of bullet caliber or where they're hit, people who've been shot don't know it yet. Don't fall over.
Unless you were shot and your leg was shot off. And
If it was shot off, you would naturally... Yeah,
There are circumstances.
There are circumstances. But books, films and TV have educated us that we are supposed to fall down. That's what can you see here? Let's have a look. It was filmed in 1902. Who's the august gentleman in the beard?
Is George V. No, isn't it? It's Edward the Seventh.
It looks exactly like Edward the Seventh. Yeah. On the other hand, it isn't.
It's not Edward the Seventh.
No, I know it looks so like
Father Christmas.
And it took place in 1902, which was the year of Edward VII's coronation. You could have played a spend a penny bonus, but I'll let you get extra points if you can spot the lavatory attendant in this.
Is he going to the lavatory in the film?
It's the man sitting down in the throne. The man you thought was Edward VII is, in fact, a lavatory attendant.
He doesn't look so much like Edward VII.
No, that's because he's in profile now.
I see.
He did look a bit like him full on.
It's not HD either, is it?
No, it's not HD. It's the early days of cinema, and the early days of cinema were dominated by one nation more than any other, really, and they were...
France.
The French, yes, exactly, the French. And in 1902, a French filmmaker called Georges Méliès decided to film the coronation, but he wasn't allowed in Westminster Abbey as soon as they heard how loud the film camera was when it was being cranked. So they said, we will have none of that nonsense here. So he decided to restage it in France and in a studio. And he found this lavatory attendant who had a nice beard, who was the right size, big adipose deposit, tubby chap, in other words. And he basically went through all the, elements of the coronation as happened. And so it was the first filmed simulacrum of a coronation, but it wasn't the real thing. In fact, Edward was ill for the real day, so he was able then to go to England and film the carriages arriving and cut that into the footage. And so that was the only real part. The rest of it was made up. And
what was the catering like?
Probably wonderful if it was French, I should imagine. What else? Oh, yes, the film went more smoothly than the real thing. In the actual ceremony, the very elderly and almost blind Archbishop of Canterbury put the crown on backwards. He then couldn't get up.
Put it on at all.
No.
Laughing about.
He also had to kneel down to swear fealty to the king, and then he couldn't get up again. So the king had to help him up.
Well, that's what royalty should be, a blind Archbishop of Canterbury and a great big fat king who keeps getting terrible constipation and being unable to turn up at his own coronation.
Exactly. But the film, you'll be pleased to know, was a huge success. Briefly made that lavatory attendant one of the most famous film stars in the world. In 1902, there weren't many to compare him with, but he was huge.
He was one of the biggest film star of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And the king saw it when it came out, and he enjoyed it hugely, apparently, according to a letter sent to us by Pauline Méliès, who is the great-great-granddaughter of the filmmaker. Thank you, Pauline, for sending us that.
Do you think Edward thought it was real? He looked at it and said, I think I've lost weight.
So when a chicken lays an egg, which end comes out first?
Oh, God, I'm not answering.
The big end.
Yes!
Oh,
right.
shut up! I was going to say that!
We can actually... we've actually got a glove which sort of reproduces an oviduct, a little egg-laying tube. So you can try and... What happens is, in utero, the egg is little end down, and then it turns round...
I'm going to start campaigning for epidurals for chickens.
There you are. You can let the big end out. Can you...
Oh,
are these hard-boiled?
This is
Because
so
this is...
soft.
Oh,
I
there you
made
are.
one.
Oh, yes, you can. Oh, dear. It is a rubber egg, as you've been...
That's why you're not a hen gynaecologist.
But you should have... Have you got a real egg down there?
I've got a real egg in a cup.
Oh, now be careful with the real egg. Put it over the cup.
Why, are they fragile, Stephen?
Well, no. They're not fragile, Alan. And if you obey this picture, put the egg in your hand like this and squeeze as hard as you like, you shouldn't be able to break it. Yeah. What have I got to do? Squeeze. As hard as you can to break it. But you can't, can you?
No.
Very, very strong. And that's the thing, eggs aren't very contrived at home, ladies and gentlemen.
If any of you had done it, I would have married you, goddammit.
How do they stamp them, Stephen?
Well, they've got a little thing inside their little hand. A little printing event that goes on just as it comes out, giving its best before date. Yeah.
The cartridges to refill a chicken are really expensive.
In honour of Victoria, QI does only connect. Cue music. Greatest programme on television after QI.
Hello.
Yes. Does that ring any bells with you? So could you choose, please, an Egyptian hieroglyph?
Oh, my goodness, I've never had the chance to do this before.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
the Eye of Horus.
Eye of Horus it is. You have to find the connection between these 5 things. First, John F. Kennedy profiles in courage. Lots of points, of course, if you get it from 1. All right? Anybody else is allowed to buzz, of course, if they think they know. And the second one, Schumann theme and variations in E flat. Whoa. What's patronising,
You
Jack?
can all piss off.
What's it got to do with the Eye of Horus?
No, that's you choose. Have you never watched? You've never watched Only Connect?
Not a whole one, no.
Not the whole. All you have to do is find what's in common. Only Connect, literally.
Well, I think the F stands for his middle name.
I don't know about Schumann, but if I was on a team on Only Connect, I'd ask them, is it like the second thing they wrote?
Oh, that's very good.
Stephen, in my head, is Schumann a composer?
Yes,
Thank you.
Robert Schumann.
Robert Schumann.
So let's have the third one, because I don't think you're getting it from 2. John Prescott, Prezza.
Goodness me.
Schumann's nickname is theme and variation.
Was that one of the Sugar Babes lineups?
So I think we better have a look at the 4th one. Fewer points, but this might help. Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps. The last one will give it to you. So the last one is only for 1 point.
You can see why I never got to the end of this show.
No, you see the last one, and I think... All right, struggle for the buzzer.
They were like ghostwriters!
Yes!
Yes!
Well done, Steady. Whoa. You've made a happy man feel very old. How does the what the hell effect work? WTH. Yes, darling.
This is relevant to people who are dieting or sometimes people who have substance abuse problems and things like that. So it's when you're being quite strict with yourself.
Stop talking about me for a second. Yeah.
It's when you're being very strict with yourself and you think you've slipped up in a slight way. So you're really, really hungry and you have a biscuit when you're on a diet and then you go, oh, well, I've ruined the diet now. I've had a biscuit. I'm going to finish that packet of biscuits. I'm going to do some crack.
Tell me about
I'm
it.
going to have an evening and start
You're
again
so
tomorrow.
right, because you think you've fallen off the wagon, you
I've
might
done
as well
everything
just...
wrong now. I'll get a tattoo. Yeah.
For people who say, well, I was very good yesterday and I've been good today, so tomorrow Black Forest Gatto for breakfast.
I mean, that is certainly a what the hell effect, there's no question about that. There is another what the hell effect, but yours, I think, counts unquestionably. This is used by Dan Ariely and his partners at Duke University in North Carolina. And what it describes is how when someone has overcome their initial reluctance to cheat, subsequent dishonest behaviour gets easier. And he tested this with college students who were solving maths problems for money. And when his back was turned, they could cheat. And the more they saw they got away with it, the more they cheated. But what was interesting is the scores were not inflated by a few students who were cheating a lot, but many students cheating a little. Cheating, in that sense, is infectious. You go, what the hell, I can do it, so you do it. But animals, interestingly, animals can cheat. Coco, who is a wonderful gorilla in California, once tore a steel sink off a wall and then used sign language to tell her handlers that the cat had done it.
Yeah.
Real childlike fib. Well, it was the cat.
That's it, yeah, the closer you get to human beings, the more
perhaps
alive
even more famous Nim Chimpsky, about whom a film was made, who has a really developed sign language. She used to duck out of sign language lessons by saying she needed to go to the loo when she didn't. She'd say, oh, I had to go for a pee, like that, and then she'd go off and you'd see her not going for a pee. Or him, rather, in this case. So animals are capable of deception.
So maybe we should only eat animals that can lie.
Well, lying seems to be a sign of intelligence, I'm glad to say, as an inveterate liar myself. Airily, this man who did the work on the what the hell effect, he found people who score higher on psychological tests for creativity are more likely to engage in dishonesty. Anyway, there we are. We are who we are because we cheat. What kind of logical reasoning did Sherlock Holmes use? L for logic there. Oh. Lavatorial. That's not correct. Lavatorial reasoning. Take me through lavatorial reasoning.
You do, because when you go to the loo, it unclogs your body and your mind.
Oh, I see.
So, like, it does. Yeah, when I'm at home, if I'm stressed by something, like a dishwasher, I can't load the dishwasher properly, and it's not working, there's loads of bowls, and I can't get them in. I'm like, Jack, take a step back, go and drop the kids off at the pool and come back to it. You sit on the loo, you think, right, what's the task going to be like? How am I going to attack this? Let's work out a game plan, a strategy. You deploy the troops, come back, and I'm slamming those plates in like Tetris.
You leave your children alone at a swimming pool.
That was a horrible metaphor.
I thought you were a bit young. I thought a bit young to have children you could just drop off at the pool. That means
Why did I take them?
That means have a poo. I didn't know that meant have a poo. Drop them at the pool. Yeah. I like that. That's quite a good one.
The logic is good as well.
But we have no evidence that that's used. But we do know from the books the kind of logic he used. There are different sorts of logic.
Well, now, if you eliminate the impossible, you're left with the possible.
Yes, if everything...
Deduction.
No, not deduction.
Oh, you idiot.
Deduction is essentially reasoning something which is unchallengeable. It must be true. You're given a set of premises and the deduction is true. So if you say all humans are mortal, Alan Davies is human, we can say that. Therefore, Alan Davies is mortal. That's just simply an absolute fact. It must be true. If those two premises are true, then the synthesis must be true as well. But abductive reasoning would be saying something like, I saw Alan Davies in an Arsenal scarf. He always cries when Arsenal lose. I saw Alan crying. Therefore, Arsenal just lost. Now, that isn't certainly true, but it's the kind of logic that Sherlock Holmes used. Not absolutely certain and definite to be true, but he was nearly always right. He reasoned abductively. So that's the sort he used. How many Spartans died at the Battle of Thermopylae?
Oh. This can be 300. Well, I saw a documentary about this.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure it's definitely 300.
The film is called 300?
Is there not a thing that one... Because there weren't just Spartans there.
Sparta!
There were...
That is how it's pronounced.
There weren't just Spartans there. There were other... But I think one of the Spartans sound
There was
nasty.
a narrow coastal pass that was defended just by Spartans, 300 of them, plus their king, played by Gerard Butler, who was... Spartan! Called...
The 301st?
His name was... He was the 301st. Leonidas, if you prefer.
Leonidas.
He's
now got a chain of chocolate shops.
I was brought up to call him Leonidas, but Leonidas seems to be the way now. I don't know. Who knows? But Leonidas or Leonidas, thank you. He defended a narrow coastal pass, and so they're 301. Only 299 Spartans died, though, so it leaves 2 who didn't. Leonidas did. 2 survived because they never took part.
Mike and Bernie Winters.
A lot of nudity going on, which was a very Spartan thing.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got his sword.
The couple by the tree seemed very fond of each other, one's grasping the nipple of the other.
Oh, yeah.
So swords casually laid against them.
So much effort and not put your pants on.
I know.
There's something about one of the ones that they were ashamed.
They were desperately ashamed. One called rather wonderfully Pan-Titties. It's a bit like...
Do you mean pantitis?
There was an MP who was introduced to Churchill whose name was Bossum, and Churchill said neither one thing nor the other. But anyway, Pan-Titties or Pant-Titties or whatever he was, Pantites, went off to deliver a diplomatic message, apparently, an embassy, and he hanged himself from shame when he got back and saw that he was the only survivor. In fact, he wasn't the only survivor, because Eurytus couldn't fight because of an eye infection. The Spartans have taken all the credit for the winning of the Battle of Thermopylae, but it was very much a combined effort with the Athenians, who were their allies at the time. Herodotus, known as the father of history, who was born 4 years after the battle, is the closest contemporary source, and he estimated the Greeks numbered about 5,000.
He was born 4 years after it happened.
Yeah,
but he's the
closest...
best we can do.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
That's all right, then.
No one else wrote...
That's better than a lot of ancient history.
The father of history, what's he called?
Herodotus.
Herodotus. Because it must have been a lot easier when he was around. I'm not having a go at him.
No, it's a very fair
But less
point.
things had happened back then.
Fewer things.
Yes.
I think. Someone will tell you that.
Common usage. Play common usage cards.
It's so like being back at school. It's unbelievable.
Apparently, you can say less or if you want to now.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can just say what you like these days. Apparently, that's
You can literally say less if you want.
Apparently, you're not allowed to scream idiot at people. What was the point in getting an education at all? I know how to use the apostrophe. Apparently, now it doesn't matter. What I want the time it took me to learn that back.
You need to be less bothered about this, or fewer bothered. You need to be fewer bothered about this kind of thing. Just let it go. Be fewer upset.
It's the best way to find out if one of your guests is drunk without...
Wait, hold on. How have you got this?
We were in the cupboard.
What the hell?
What the heck, fire?
I have no memory of this.
So what's the best way to find out if someone's drunk without using a breathalyzer?
Oh,
No breathalyzer allowed.
Well, I would make a pass at them, and if they go with it, they're drunk.
That works.
Yeah, that's my test. That's lean in for the kiss.
But let's suppose you're a policeman. Would that still be your method?
Sure, take down the particulars.
Sobriety test is normally walking in a straight line, isn't it? Or
That's
walking
right,
along
especially in
the
America, where states I've been stopped and, you know, they make you do that.
But people always act... People that are acting really normal, hyper-normal, I think they're loaded.
Yes, because drunk people announce slightly too perfectly.
And talk a
to
little
show
too
that they're not
loud.
slurring.
Yes. When people are acting normal, they
Yes.
are drunk out of their minds.
The British police used to have, an American in some states, had phrases they asked you to repeat, tongue twisters. The Leith police dismisseth us is quite a well-known one. Can you say that?
Dismisses us.
Can you say that?
Leith police dismisses us.
The Leith police dismisses us.
No, the Leith police dismisseth us.
The Leith police dismisseth us. I haven't had a drink. I'd be in...
You'd be in trouble.
Dismisses us.
Yeah. You see, that's cheating. You can't do it, Yoda. On a lazy laser razor lies a laser ray eraser. That's not too difficult. On a lazy laser razor lies a lazy ray eraser.
Well, why would you say that in any... There's no context where you...
There isn't really, is there?
A wicked cricket critic, that's what I want.
A wicked cricket critic.
Yes.
Yeah, a wicked cricket critic.
A wicked cricket critic.
Yep. Imagine an imaginary menagerie manager managing an imaginary menagerie.
Where was that?
Researchers at MIT, I don't know why they say this is the most difficult, but maybe for drunk people it is. Pad kid, poured curd, pulled cod. Doesn't seem that difficult. Pad kid, poured curd, pulled cod.
That doesn't seem that
The one
difficult.
I've always thought the most difficult is you imagine a mother watching her son who's re-metalling the bottom of a pan. She says, "Are you copper-bottoming 'em, my man?" "No, I'm aluminiuming 'em, mum."
Aluminium.
Are you copper-bottoming
my man? No, I'm aluminiuming mum.
Very good. Are you copper-bottoming 'em, my man? No, I'm aluminiuming 'em, mum.
OK, I'll do the beats.
Alan, do it.
I can't do it.
Who makes up this stuff?
Some teachers. But you would say aluminium 'em, mum.
Aluminum.
I wouldn't say any of it.
You're right.
You would maybe
Unless
just
I
go,
was
officer,
drunk.
I am drunk.
I know.
By the time you got to this one, you just go, you know what, I'll pay the fine.
Describe the aviation techniques of the concrete arrows.
Well, concrete can't really fly, Stephen, can they? Because it's very heavy.
Well, you say the jumbo jet isn't heavy?
Good point.
It needs a lot of thrust.
Well, you can, so when you're in an aeroplane, you can hear that noise, which is them filling it with helium. Assuming that's what the noise is, and that's how it works. Yeah.
Yes,
We're just waiting for the cabin to fill with helium, and then we will float gently up and then across the sea.
Imagine the conversations you'd have in the plane if it was filled with helium.
It does stuff to your ears, so that's what you are hearing, but it sounds normal.
Good point. We look to you for all this information. We're very grateful for it. Well, naturally, of course, you are quite right in the sense that there have never been any flying vehicles built of concrete. But there have been concrete arrows that have a great deal to do with aviation. And we go back to the early days of aviation in a country that was expanding perhaps more rapidly than any economy has ever expanded, and that was the place...
America.
The United States of America, yes. And there's a large landmass, and they had...
arrows to show the way across it?
Well, yes, they had...
Is that how big
this was
the
even
arrows
faster.
were?
No.
No.
Those would be huge. But
they
would
be huge.
They were big enough. They had 70-foot-long concrete arrows every 10 miles across the USA. And there's one that still exists. In 1933, they stopped the programme because radio advances and so on had meant they were unnecessary for navigation. But before that, they really needed to find a way that aeroplanes didn't have to dive down into towns to look and see where they were, which before
Ask for direction.
Yeah, basically.
Going down along the high street.
Where am I? And what was common was that the towns would actually paint the name of the town on a large roof.
Is that what those big... You see roofs with T's written on
well,
it.
maybe.
Is that for pilots who fancy a scone? T's, but no airport nearby, sorry.
But there, yes, the arrows, straightforward, really simple, and it worked. Speaking of things visible from the air, can you imagine something that the French made visible from the air to try and win the First World War? Or at least to try not to be utterly crushed by the First World War?
Something for the German spotter planes to see?
Yes.
The fake weaponry or something like
a
that? Wooden
great
tanks or something?
Big baguette.
It was a fake something.
Fake Eiffel Tower.
Well, and more.
Fake guillotine.
Fake Paris.
A fake Paris,
Fake Paris.
Colin. Well done. Finally. Finally. Come on, Elsie, come on. And now you've had the pleasure of a whole audience being patronising to you. Come on, Ozzy, come on. Yes, you're absolutely right. The French were very worried as bombing technology was improving towards the end of the war that Paris, their beloved Paris, was going to go up in smoke and all the wonderful buildings. So 15 miles to the north, on the stretch of the Seine, they built lots of buildings, including a Gare du Nord, and even moving lights to suggest the railway tracks and other such things. Unfortunately, it was never completed, because they only had the idea in 1918, and by November, of course, the war
Was it to scale?
over. From the air, yes, I think it was.
Not like that London in Legoland.
No, not like that. Some domestic appliances that really nobody wants.
La, la. In a vicarage, a tie rack.
That is good. I can't take that away from you.
I'm appealing, sir. There's an act of great pedantry here, but there's not technically an appliance.
Oh. And this is an electronic tie rack.
An auto steam tie rack.
There are electric tie racks. Yeah, there are tie racks that go...
Really?
Yeah, there are.
Such a thing exists?
Electric ones, I promise you.
Wow.
And that actually takes us to what the right answer is. When you said steam,
Those Corby trouser presses that you have in hotel rooms.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone use or heard of anyone using.
Brilliant. Do you mean others don't?
You've
Am I
used
the only
one?
one?
I used them.
I use them.
But not necessarily
Okay, well,
for
I completely
trousers. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Whoa. Anyway, there's a whole load of appliances that were made in the 1920s and 30s when a lot of British people were starting to get a little bit more prosperous just before the crash. And they thought about going on the electric, as it used to be said. We're going on the electric. And what would be the killer app that would put them on the electric, the thing they wanted to have most?
Electric light?
That would be one.
Plug-in radio?
The wireless set.
Yeah.
And who were the other main suppliers other than electricity that had already been there? Gas. They thought, well, what we'll do is provide gas-powered radios to stop people from going on the electric. And there's an example of one. And they put them out, and they said, oh, not only will you get the BBC, but you will warm the room slightly.
Increase the glow of your contentment.
Increase the chances of your house exploding. And not only did they produce wirelesses, they produced trouser presses, oddly enough, washing machines, washing up machines, everything that you can think of that is a household appliance, a white good, as we would now say.
There were gas-powered fridges, weren't there?
Yes, there were indeed. Very much so. But they just didn't catch on because electricity was just more reliable. And It's not that the gas actually powered the radio so much as that the gas created the current that powered the radio. So it was still electric, it's just you use your existing gas main. Who would bite their arm off to get their leg over?
Love is all around me.
Yes, Josh. You!
It must be from the animal kingdom.
It is from the animal kingdom. And what type of animals usually have to suffer in order to give their seed, as it were?
Spiders are usually...
Spiders is the right answer.
Oh, look at that.
It's a particular kind of spider. There's the female on the left, and there's the male on the right.
That's a new market there.
He's going to have a Napoleon complex, isn't he?
Have you seen that picture of Bernie Ecclestone and his ex-wife?
It's like that old...
He's said to his mates have said, no, don't bother, she's too big for you. He's going, no, I can get her. You watch, she's no problem at all, mate. You know?
He won't let her wear heels on a night out, will he?
She is 100 times bigger. And if we see him close up, you might notice...
He's Tom Cruise.
It's quite hard to see, but the front two, the left one is curled inwards a bit, but the right one is straight up, are actually penis legs. He has 8 legs like any spider, but the front two are penises and are charged with
I've got a couple of them down under here.
The old penis leg there.
They're called pedipalps. And the thing he does in order to get a better chance of shagging that enormous female is he actually spins some silk and ties it round one of his penis legs and pulls so that it basically pulls it off. So he actually tears it off.
If he pulls it off, there's no point in having sex with it.
No, there's one left.
Oh.
And it gives him a speed advantage. So he's much, much quicker, so he can scuttle after her. It all seems most complicated life cycle, the oddest procedure, but it's honestly true. It's the male tent cobweb spider. So the males that do this are 44% faster than ones who've kept both their penis legs. But even then, when they get the female, which is their reward, the female then suck them dry and discard them. Yeah. Which...
Oh, isn't that just the way?
Yes.
You deserve it, you old bastards.
Is the human equivalent of this...
Katie Price.
No.
If you had to fight a duel, which weapon would you want your opponent to choose? A, hot air balloon, would that please you? B, a billiard ball? C, a sword? Or D, a sausage?
Sausages are fairly non-lethal.
You'd say
I would
sausage?
think you could get terrible food poisoning
Yeah,
from the
that's what
sausage.
Yeah, but... Well, we do have history on our side, so we can tell a story about the sausage. There was a scientist, a very eminent scientist, who was rather liberal in his ways, who lived in Prussia, and who was the great leader of Prussia, who basically unified Germany and was what we would call a prime minister, but he was the minister-president of Prussia.
Bismarck.
Von Bismarck, exactly. And this German pathologist, who was called Rudolf Virchow, so opposed the mighty armaments program that Bismarck had started that he enraged Bismarck, who challenged him to a duel. So because he got to choose, this doctor, who was the first man to isolate the pathogen behind pork that had gone off, which is called Trichinella spiralis, said, OK, the weapons will be sausages, one of which would be poisonous, toxic, as you say, with this agent, this pathogen. So he challenged him to a breakfast, essentially. And Bismarck didn't like the idea, so called the whole thing off, which the challenger has the right to do.
So it's a sausage roulette?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Sausage roulette. Yeah, but with only 2. And so you had a 50-50 chance of dying, so that's a pretty dangerous duel. Sausage duel. So, moving from the sausage to the balloon, the Monsieur Grandpré and Monsieur de Pique. We're going to get quite French because you know what they're like. In 1808, there was a dispute between these two over the affections of a young woman. They took to the skies in separate hot air balloons, each armed with a blunderbuss. De Pique shot first and missed. He had the first shot and he missed.
There's a moment, isn't it?
Grandpré then fired at de Pique's balloon and punctured it, sending him and his second down to their deaths.
Wow.
2,000 feet above Paris. So the balloon, pretty damn dangerous. There's only one example of a billiard ball duel that we've been able to discover. That took place between a Monsieur L'Enfant and a Monsieur Melfant. They fell out over a game of billiards, not surprisingly, and so they used what was to hand, billiard balls. Presumably it was carom if they were French. And they decided to resolve their difference by pelting each other, one after the other, with billiard balls. They drew straws to see who would throw first. And Melfond won, and he warned his opponent he would kill him with a one single strike, and he did. Straight between the eyes. Wow. Dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
God.
That's...
And he probably went, I was joking. I didn't think I'd actually hit you. Why did they use the cue? That would have been...
Yeah. So, of all the weapons we've described, probably the safest is the sword, because in duelling, all you have to do is get the draw first blood, as the phrase is. So you literally have to pink someone, just give them a little scratch, and it's called off by the second. So, we got him. So, there we are, duelling. Ladies should be covering your ears, because you're very sensitive, I know. Can you name an Anglo-Saxon swear word?
I would say...
We've covered all bases
in for
there.
a penny.
Gobbler is Anglo-Saxon.
It's also a delightful weirding bird. The amount of times Bill Oddie's gone after a knob gobbler.
He does spend a lot of time on Hampstead Heath, it's certainly true. That's where he comes from.
Ooh, look at the plumage on that knob gobbler. This isn't rude. It's a type of bird. You know, who wouldn't want to stroke a knob gobbler?
But no, you see, the fact is, we have no knowledge whatsoever of Anglo-Saxon swearing, because the only Saxons we know of are those who wrote. And those who wrote were in holy orders and tended not to swear.
They must
But
have
we
been
have no
swear
evidence
words.
for them. But we do know that Vikings swore, because we actually know there's a particular word, and this is rasragar. It's such an appalling word that if one Viking called another Viking rasragar, the Viking who was called it would be entitled to kill the man who called him that. And indeed, if he didn't try and kill him, he would be expelled from the community, and indeed be proved to be a rasragar. I've been told what rasragar means, but I just cannot tell you.
Is it?
I just can't.
Is it rasragar?
Rasragar.
Is it to do with colouring?
I just can't.
Russet
My mind
beard or
has got
something.
the idea of it in its head, and I will never be the same again. I don't know.
I think that we all want to know, right?
No. Anyway, the fact is there are no known Anglo-Saxon swear words in the sense that Anglo-Saxon peoples use them. Happy little fellow is about to kill himself. How? You recognise that?
It's about to...
And he's about to kill himself.
He is, by doing something which nature impels him to do, which is a suicidal thing to do.
Fling himself off a cliff.
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
I just... throwing himself off a cliff. I thought, I thought, well, why not? We'll get that one out of the way.
We thought it might be a lemming, and
Yes,
anyway, lemmings don't, of course. But
no, they don't, yes.
No, it's not a lemming. It's in fact not a rodent.
Is it not?
Is it a
No.
marsupial? Is it a marsupial?
It is a marsupial, yes. It's a bit of a convergent. How do you do that? It's a marsupial, and it's called an antechinus.
Antichinus. Well, what are the natural things? It's either going to eat something, or it's going to drink something.
What do animals live to do? They live to eat in order to
Procreate.
survive long enough to procreate, to pass on their genes.
So is there some naughty sex thing that
It's
happens?
about to have sex, and that is, for it, suicide. They go on an extraordinary shagging spree. I mean, it is quite unbelievable. I have to give you the details because they're pretty amazing. It's semmelparous, which means it only does it once. And it's about 12 hours on the job with one female before moving on to the next. Doesn't eat or sleep, just keeps going in a testosterone-driven frenzy.
Oh, never mind about him, that poor female.
Well, that's... and the next one, and the next one.
12 hours?
Yeah.
She must be chafed.
To get the necessary energy, the male's bodies strip themselves of all their vital proteins and suppress their immune systems. By the end of the fortnight, they're physiologically exhausted, bald, gangrenous, ravaged by stress and infection, and keel over and die.
Wow.
Russell Brand, take note. It's pretty grim.
It sounds like Henry VIII at the end of his life, doesn't it?
It does, somewhat. It is, you bet.
Does this happen only once, then?
Yes, semmelparous once is that.
So they're
Semmel is
dead
once.
before the children arrive,
Very much so, and that, some people think, may be the reason.
just
but
to
in
get
fact,
out of childcare.
Yeah. Thought of it.
Or if you give it a better gloss, it's in order to leave more food for their children.
So 12 hours and then another 12 hours?
Yeah, this lasts for a fortnight, apparently. Yeah.
Wow.
2-week mating season.
There's somebody in the audience remembering a Spanish holiday. Magaluf, 1982. Oh, that was a party.
OK, here we go with this question. What do Amy Freeze and Larry Sprinkle have in common with Dee Whedon and A.J. Splatt?
Is this some
Are these
dark
real
part
people?
of the internet?
It's a real thing. It's not a dark part of the internet. it's a joyous part of real life.
They're real people.
Weed On and Splat are both Australian urologists. And in other words, they cover splatting and being weed on. Well, not necessarily being weed on. Sorry. And Amy Freeze and Larry Sprinkle are American
chefs.
Antifreeze manufacturers.
Ice cream.
Garden sprinkler.
meteorologists, weather forecasters. So it freezes, you get a sprinkle of rain.
I believe that's their real name.
It really is. Now, what is the name for people having jobs that come after their names? So if you were a baker, say.
Yes, exactly. I don't know the. I don't know the.
My dad was a clerk.
And your dad, exactly, that would do it.
Yeah.
It's called nominative determinism.
It's called nominative or onomastic determinism because it's you're determined by your name.
I've always been interested by this because there was a family many, many years ago and they were called the Gauntlets. And they christened their son Victor.
I knew Victor. He ran Aston Martin.
Exactly. He was destined to run Aston Martin simply because his parents had christened him Victor. If they'd called him Stan, he would have been a plumber. Do you see it all the time?
Yeah.
Where somebody called Fotherington's Major Fortescue has always got a sandwich shop in Fulham, whereas somebody called Ron Twat is a builder from somewhere. And it's very simple names tend to...
I know Ron Twat.
Do you? He's a pretty good builder.
Surely Ron Twat should be a gynaecologist. Surely.
Now you can see...
Well, some examples you might know. They're called aptronyms as well because they're apt names. Mark Avery, where would he work?
In an A.
Well, no, that's too specific.
Slimbridge.
He's of the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, yes, very good. The poet Wordsworth, when you think about it, he went to Cambridge to read mathematics, and he probably thought, well, I'm called Wordsworth. Words.
I did a programme years ago sailing around Britain with John McCarthy, and we had to go and be fitted for life jackets, at Crusader life jackets, and they were fitted, and I promise you I've still got his card, by a man called Will Drown.
I'm going to demonstrate something called the Leidenfrost effect, named after a certain Dr. Leidenfrost. So allow me to present a tray, which may seem rather mysterious. There we go. Now, essentially, what the principle is, I'll explain it first, and then you'll see it, is that when you drop some water on a very hot surface, it kind of beads into a little ball and goes around. It's often a way you test the heat of a frying pan or so on, or if you drop water accidentally onto a hot plate. And if you allow this beading to take place on certain surfaces, the beading is sort of predictable and rather exciting. And you can see a little bit of it on VT, in which the bead is going uphill. It's being dropped from a pipette onto a very hot, ridged, sort of sawtoothed surface. And you can see the ball itself. That's
how my sperm reacts with a ridged condom.
You may be wearing it inside out.
Why have you got your sperm in a pipette?
Sufficient.
All right. So, I have pipettes here, and this is room temperature. I'm going to put it on here, and you can see, as I drop the water, that it's just nothing much happens. But the beads go off. That's starting to boil and frizz, and as it gets hotter, you'll see the Leidenfrost effect of it.
Listen to it. It's where the women were watching the Chippendales.
But, where it gets interesting is where these things have been left on the heat and so already incredibly hot. And this is a little concave thing, and we drop a bit in it. It goes round and round and round and round and round. Rather beautifully. And now we've got another one with the sawtooth that we saw the climbing up, but this is a circular sawtooth, and it should go round and round as well. Whee! Incredible speed. Look at that.
I don't know why young people have to go and, play Grand Theft Auto when they've all this sort of crack to look forward to.
I know! Fun. And for the grand finale, you can see here, next to the hot plate, is we've got ourselves a sort of maze. And let's see what happens here. There's a very predictable path, and they go all the way around. And if they've got enough energy, they'll go around twice. There you go, big fellow.
That's like chasing me dad round a shopping precinct. Don't abandon me.
That's it.
I want to make you proud. Dad, come back.
Thank you, Kei Takashina from the University of Bath for the loan of this splendid equipment. The ability to do two things at once. We can ask the audience and we can ask you. It's easier for the audience because of the way they're sitting down. All you have to do is revolve your right foot clockwise. That's easy, isn't it? And then with your right hand, make a 6. Is your foot suddenly going...
Oh, I don't like that.
Isn't that extraordinary?
That's it. Right foot, what foot?
Yeah.
Right foot,
That's
clockwise.
weird.
Yeah. And then go
You have to really think about it.
You really do.
That was instant. You really have to think about it to the point where you nearly break your foot off. You forget what's clockwise.
You start going up and down and not...
You're fighting it.
You're in agony.
But I couldn't do the 6. I couldn't finish the 6. I just did a C.
That's exactly. It's a bitch, isn't it? It's really fascinating.
I'm going to remember that one. People say, what do you remember from QI? And I remember nothing.
Even if you watch your foot.
Yeah.
This isn't great television, what I'm doing at this moment.
Put your foot on the desk if you want.
Right, so... Glad I wore my natty socks today.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
I can't even remember what a 6 looks like.
Oh, little Alan, I'm so sorry.
I'm a bit of walk. I'll be going around. Help me! It's trapped on the pavement.
Well, you're absolutely right.
Like a Dalek on the stairs.
Did you find that when you're filming Jonathan Creek or something, that sometimes you suddenly kind of forget how to walk because the camera's on you and you say, oh, do you get that or... No. Oh. Damn you.
Sorry.
All right. What are the advantages of having a goat as a nanny?
Let there be love.
I think it's because they've got hooves. And if you had a nanny that had hooves, they couldn't sneak up on you.
That's true. The fact is, nanny goats are called nanny goats for a dashed good reason. In the days of foundlings who were left on the church doors, if you left a baby on a church steps, it was a foundling, and it was therefore thrown on the mercy of the parish, and it had to be fed. And, of course, there was no such thing as SMA or cow and gate or anything like that. The only way they could get milk was from a breast, so you had wet nurses. But you also had goats. And goats were amazing.
They'd feed on the goat?
Yeah, they'd feed on the goat milk. Very good stuff. Straight from the teat. It's better than... Until 1870, pasteurisation was invented by Pasteur, obviously. It was the healthiest way you could have it straight from the teat.
Was the goat OK with...
Not only OK,
I've seen Josh's little eyes light up and he's like, straight from the teeth.
Yeah.
You say goats are OK with it?
Not only OK, you may have seen cows that are desperate to be milked and they queue up for the dairy in order to be milked. Well, goats the same if they're ready to give suck. So we have here a description...
What?
Whoa. You know, the phrase, Shakespearean again, Lady Macbeth. French doctor Alphonse Leroy described it in a foundling hospital in France. Each goat which comes to feed enters bleating and goes to hunt the infant which has been assigned to it. So there's a particular child that's been assigned to, pushes back the covering of the bed with its horns, like that, and straddles the crib to give suck to the infant.
Sounds like an accident waiting to happen. Goat tooth on the...
Can you imagine trying to get insurance for that now in the NHS? So we just have this goat straddle a baby, and then the baby just sort of notice suck off the goat.
Imagine the Daily Mail all over that.
Well, maybe.
Goat straddles baby.
Why do they have... Why goats? Why not?
Well, it's a very good question. Cows are just a bit too big, I think, to go into a little... Just, go over the crib.
Over the crib. I don't want a pat on the head. 13 years. Been waiting for that.
Yeah. you asked about goats, and some people thought into the 19th century that breast milk contained not only nutrition but the character traits of whoever gave it. So if the mother was a loose woman and had given the baby out of wedlock, she wasn't to be trusted to give milk to her baby because she would be passing on her immorality to the child. This is how mad we once were.
Well, how do they know what the goat's been up to?
Well, what's a surefire way of telling two butterflies apart?
Different colour wings.
That would be true of those that were different colours. But suppose they looked identical.
Well, then you
And were
can't.
different species or genus.
Then you can't. That's it.
Well, you might be.
Their breath.
Is it? Bit of breath.
Is it? The prettier they are, the stinkier their breath. Their dress.
Their dress? Yes. That would do it.
Are they sort of
Their
same
names?
bit different? Like they are all the same,
There are
but they're
two
not?
genera of butterfly that look almost identical, and it's a type of evolution called Mullerian. There they are. And one of them tastes disgusting to birds, and the birds quite quickly learned that.
Oh, so you lick them? You just lick them?
Well, the birds did. And so the other one evolved to look as much like the one that's disgusting without actually being disgusting, because it doesn't need to develop the, whatever it is, the disgusting taste, because the birds will assume that it is disgusting. And this is a thing that happens in nature. You look identical, just to survive.
How smug must they be?
Oh, I would say. It's very, very good.
And also, the one on the right there seems to have a tiny roll of gaffer tape in its mouth. They're not even his real wings. He's made them. He's like that. Look at that, I'm just like him. Come on. You go around the other side of that, it's all sticky back plastic round there.
But there is an answer to how you would tell the difference, and it's deeply personal.
Oh, it's the downstairs.
It's the genitalia. You would look at the genitalia. And there's a truly great novelist of the 20th century, although English was his third language. And he was very good at sexing butterflies. Indeed, telling their gender, examining their penises. There is
Texting.
Texting. There's a collection still at Harvard University of these tiny little files filled with penises of butterflies that he collected. There he is. He lived in America, hence Harvard, but he was born in Russia and then moved to Paris from a rather knobby family. And his name was Vladimir Nabokov. But you must have heard of his most famous Nabokov.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Butterflies.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing.
Don't let us down.
Lolita.
Lolita, thank you. Yes, he wrote Lolita amongst many other magnificent
Operation
novels.
U-Tree are all over him at the moment.
Lolita, light of my loins.
Did his wife collect all of the lady gardens of the butterflies?
Very good point. I don't know if he exclusively confined himself to the penises of butterflies, but I suppose they were the easiest bits to see in such a small
Well, the
insect.
wings are easier to see.
Well, yeah, no. When it comes to sexing, I mean.
Butterfly pubes, that's the... Imagine that. Imagine a pillow. How soft would that pillow be? Just filled with butterfly pubes.
He gave a very, very...
That's what... Not many people know this. Not many people know this, but all of Stephen's suits are lined with butterfly pubes. That's true. By the finest tailors in the land.
I do
Butterfly tailors, no less.
That's right.
I do
Tiny moths come in.
Yes.
Mr. Fry, we have collected the butterfly pubes of 1 million butterflies.
They've been donated willingly.
More than willing.
That's why he looks so comfortable on the show. See, look, he's even flapping like a butterfly. The power of the pubes are moving through the fire. Look at him moving. There it goes again.
I'm going to make a lava lamp for your edification, pleasure and entertainment. I have here a little tube. This is actually a tube that usually contains tennis balls. And this is a mixture of vegetable oil and water. And I have here a little...
Quite hard to mix,
syringe.
by the way, those two things.
Yeah, they are.
They
Because
separate, don't they, David?
Yes. Hello. So you pump the colour in, and I'm going to use Alka-Seltzer, or any effervescent hangover cure pill will do.
Are you going to say, don't try this at home?
Well, you can, actually. I think honestly, it's not like a Mender. It's not going to explode. And cue light. Way, there we go. Pop it on, and then as the effervescent works, it begins... Yeah, there we are, beginning to get the effect. And there we are, the colour's now beginning to come into it. And you're getting a sort of lava lamp there, obviously. Professionally, they're made more permanent. A lava lamp, ladies and gentlemen. You've all got the equipment, as it were, so you can make one yourselves.
So exciting.
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah,
Already, we've begun with the thrilling excitement.
Awesome.
Will the show have to pay something to the format holders of the Generation Game?
It is a bit Generation Game, you're right.
Let's just...
What do we do with that? We inject colour in.
Inject colour. You've all got different colours to make it thrilling. Don't put too much of the effervescent hangover cure.
I put all of it in.
Did it? Don't put too many pills in. And now just put a little of the
No, put loads in. It's brilliant. Look at your bullshit lava lamp.
Mine is dry.
Your lava lamp is...
Hey!
Well, steal another one.
It's all happening in our corner.
You see, when did it explode now? Hopefully.
I can... No, you don't. No.
You're no fun. Stick another one in.
I'm a responsible adult. There has to be one on this programme.
Look at all these little balls.
I'm nervous of having them.
Stop saying that.
This genuinely reminds me so much of school. You said, don't put all the Alka-Seltzer in, and then Alan said, we're putting it all in. And I've gone along with him, and now I'm frightened.
You're the one in trouble. You made me laugh. You made me laugh, David. I told you before.
You're in trouble.
It's not funny. There's nothing funny about making people laugh. Hang on, maybe, but oh dear, I've got oily hands.
Mitchell's taken the lid off, sir. Mitchell's taken the lid off. It's not serious.
This is most unfortunate.
Are you...
Why haven't you put any little balls in yours?
I beg your pardon.
This is not how it was supposed to happen at all.
I love how broad Stephen's language is.
Industrial... We all know why Alan has industrial-strength tissues. What's the largest native land animal that you'll find all year round on Antarctica?
I don't think there are any land animals on Antarctica. Humans? Human beings?
Oh! I did say...
The line between clever and stupid is so thin.
I did say native. Obviously, there are humans.
I beg.
Yeah, there are natives.
It's a penguin, a big penguin. I mean... Right, OK, so it's not that because I made the evil siren go off.
Would it be whales?
A whale isn't a land animal.
If the water melts really quickly, it is.
I will give you a clue. You've already said penguin, but it's a flightless animal, but it's not a big mammal.
Given that it is big and little large, is it very wee?
It is actually very small, although it's the largest.
Is it a mosquito or something?
It's an insect. You're in the right direction. It's like a mosquito. Mosquitoes are like... If you go to Scotland, what do you get?
A ladybird.
Midge. It's a midge.
It's a... a midge.
Belgica, Antarctica. The Belgian, as you might say, midge. There it is. It's wingless, flightless. It's a midge. And the point is, it's native to Antarctica. There are all kinds of animals, like humans, like penguins, that spend a bit of their time in Antarctica. Penguins only 25% of the time. 75% of their time, they're at sea. They're not a land animal.
Ah, but we're married to the sea. Penguins, we love the life. Away from our nagging wives with their beaks and their wings sitting on eggs.
There they are. Oh, bless. What is it about them that is so endearing?
They're delicious. That's good eating.
Talking of humans not being native to Antarctica, there's a story the other day about the American scientist who's there, and he decided to turn Tinder on. You know Tinder, the dating app.
Oh, yes.
And he got a date with a woman in a tent 45 minutes away. He was also...
You're kidding me? That's hilarious.
That'd be great if she came up and he went, nah, swipe right.
Grinder, however, all penguin.
Yeah. But if they were to mate, say, have a child, raise that child there, suddenly...
That child would be endemic or native to Antarctica.
Yeah, and by the time this goes out on Dave, everyone will be like... about the Tinder baby. Midge. Yeah, Tinder baby.
You're right. I have to put it in.
They've got Wi-Fi, that's the best thing about that.
Yeah, Wi-Fi on Antarctica.
That's good going.
Yeah,
the penguins are all hooked up. They're all the same.
Their version of Tinder is called Pick Up a Penguin.
Very good. Why was Sir Billy Butlin such a little devil?
Holiday camps.
Butlin's holiday camps. Yeah. Minehead, Scarborough, Filey...
Skegness.
Yep.
Were the chalets little?
So, no, but Billy Butlin himself...
Was he tiny?
He was. And if you think about the age he is, you might be able to work this out.
Second World War?
No.
First World War.
First World War. That's the generation he was. And in the First World War, they had something to make people fight, which was called...
Bromide.
No. It was a law.
Oh, because...
Conscription, yes. But one of the things that could get you out of being conscripted was that if you were...
Tiny.
If you were small.
Did he pretend to be bigger to...
No, he, as it were, fell under a particular desperation that the British Army...
Did they start a short army?
Yes, they literally did. Lord Derby, the Earl of Derby, said, now, hang on, there are a whole load of short people, as it were, getting under the wire. And all these tall people are fighting and dying for us. We want more people to die for us. There simply aren't enough people dying. And all these short people are living. So we're going to have a short brigade. And they were known as the Bantams, the Bantam Brigade. They were. I know.
Presumably quite good. You could play on the opposition's or, the opposing army's sense of perspective.
Yeah.
Some way you're like...
Those soldiers are really far away.
We have edges.
There are no danger to us.
These were men under 5'3", and Billy Butlin was one of them. They became known as the Devils, in fact, the Devil's Dwarfs, because they were so... their reputation for brawling and mischief. They were very, very aggressive. Here they are being inspected by a splendid man in a moustache. And
German shin injuries up 75%. Our legs are being shot away from us. We do not know why.
They should have just put them on each other's shoulders in a long coat.
Oh, yeah. The most famous of them was called Henry Thridgold, who was only 4'9", and he was believed to be the shortest soldier ever to have served in the British Army. There he is next to quite a tall Scottish soldier. But that's a short chap, but chirpy and cheerful and ready to lay down his life for our country.
I hope you shake hands with him.
Hey, now.
That's given my husband and I a whole new avenue for bedroom role play.
You be Henry, and I'll be a Scots Guard.
Well, there you are. So next time you go on a Butlin's holiday, you can say, well, thank you, Billy, for putting your life at risk, despite the fact that you weren't as tall as most soldiers.
And he survived.
He survived in order to create these holiday camps. Yeah.
With tiny beds.
What did you find at the exact centre of the observable universe?
Oh, you?
Oddly enough. Possibly. Norfolk, yes.
There isn't a centre of the universe, really. So isn't the centre of the universe just the person who's looking out? Because it must be the same...
You are so absolutely right, it hurts.
In any direction.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Oh,
absolutely right.
But I remember at school them doing something with a balloon. The teacher, and he put loads of dots on a balloon, and then he sort of said it was like the closest to explaining the universe as he could do.
That's absolutely right. Although there has been an absolute statement of where the centre of the universe is, which is that it's at the meeting of Bank Street and 6th Street in the town of Wallace, Idaho. There it is. Centre of the universe.
Is that the mayor of Idaho, though? Has he said that?
Yeah. Well, it covers
doing well for tourism and gone, why don't we just say the centre of the universe is here?
You're absolutely right.
Just made it
he
up.
said it because there was no particular scientific evidence to say that it wasn't the centre of the universe. They decided in that...
We'll have it.
Yeah, but Americans like to stake a claim. They're land grabbers. It's in their...
Yeah.
in their DNA, so to be. Not that we weren't in our colonial era, of course.
Isn't the sun the centre of the universe?
Well, sorry, I didn't want to laugh at that.
What a way to build me confidence for the rest of the show.
That was the most... I thought that was a serious question as well. We both looked to you and you looked at us like the peasants on the land. Will we ever be free of this tyranny? Never.
I'd like to go in the toilet, but doesn't the Whitehall witch live there?
Well, I'm sorry that it sounded quite so patronising. The centre of the universe is apparently Bank Street and 6th Street in Wallace, Idaho, or...
The sun.
Yes. You beasts, you unutterable beasts. The exact centre of the observable universe, you'll find the unbearable likeness of Johnny Vegas, or whoever happens to be observing you. What can you catch from a lavatory seat?
A tennis ball. If you position it right so that they're just serving through a slightly open window, yeah, you can just get it.
Very good.
Lob it through.
Nothing.
Nothing. No, that's not right. It's so not right, you get a caption.
Something.
Not good enough. Everything not right. There are quite a few diseases.
Gonorrhea.
Syphilis.
Is it the crabs? Is it the tiny crabs?
Well, there are a number that are very much known to be caught. Hepatitis, dysentery, fungal infections, puerperal fever, viral gastroenteritis. But the only way you catch it from the loo seat is from the loo seat to your hand to what is nicely known as a soft entry point. Which tends to be the nose or the mouth.
Right.
So as long as you wash your hands, you're perfectly safe. You don't get it through the thighs and bottom.
Yes, that would be weird.
That would be weird.
Surely the bottom is something of a soft entrance.
It is. Unless you're doing it very, very wrong, it should be hovering over a nice hole in between the seat.
Yes.
What, you just stand up? I tend to slide off on...
Do you? I know from now on not to.
That is why they have a gap under the door.
So your feet can go through.
What I do...
That's brilliant. So you leave all your doings and then get out with the door locked. What's happened here?
Oh, my God, he didn't even flush it. I don't need to flush it. It will not unlock the door. Whoosh! Sometimes, if you time
Don't
it
you
right...
catch your testicles
as they go? It's a sort of a reverse limbo. You pull them in like a sumo.
All right,
What you do is you time it right so that when the fella or the lady is mopping the floor, I slip out from under the door. It's like the curling. Somebody opens the door all the way down. It's what are you doing? I'm fine. And then as you're moving, it pulls your trousers up.
That should be an Olympic category, I think.
It should be an Olympic category. That is superb.
Never do it on the ice, though. Never.
Those of us who use lavatories in a more, shall we say, normal, usual, conventional way, tend not to do that. We tend to keep the soft entry points of our bottoms.
That is why I'm riddled with disease.
Yes.
Riddled with disease.
Yeah, absolutely. But who is responsible for the myth that you can catch sexually transmitted diseases from lavatory seats?
Brian Blessed.
Yes! No, I don't think it is. My soft entrance has been violated! Yes! I can't believe it! It's hairier than the rest of me!
So who put it? My grandmother, I think.
Your grandmother
Will it
made
be
it.
a pharmaceutical company with profits to be made?
No, it's actually doctors. Doctors suggested that you
I love
could
that
catch
show.
it. They suggested you could catch it from lavatory seats.
There's something very, very wrong with her. I think she's past hope.
Is it a she or a he? It's very hard to tell.
It's Tilda Swinton.
It's
beautiful Tilda Swinton with gangrene of the upper rib.
Your head is much too small for your body.
That's not a usual. It's not a usual soft opening part that he's poking his tube into. I don't know what he's draining it, presumably.
He's harvesting tit juice.
He's harvesting
Dangerous tit juice.
No, it was doctors. Doctors suggested it because they thought it would make more people come forward with STDs because they would be less embarrassed to say they caught it from a lavatory seat than that they caught it from a whore, strumpet, harlot.
Or parent.
Tanesco. Or parent.
This is
parent? Don't make me repeat things without thinking. What would you do with the world's longest corkscrew?
Undo the world's most convivial bottle of wine.
Ah, exactly. That's perfect.
I would make a sex toy for pigs.
That's very good. Because you know about the fact exactly that
Pigs got a little corkscrew.
A little curly corkscrew of a knob.
Not just pigs as well.
Oh, is it not for taking out
Duck.
plants?
Been looking for someone who goes the other way. As it were. Oh dear.
I love it when it's a genuine.
So this is a helical structure. It's not really a corkscrew, but it's the longest that occurs in nature. And I have one. Yes, I have one. I don't have one growing about my person. I have one on my person, as it were. No, it's on my person.
I can't believe you've been so blasé about this. You've killed a unicorn.
You're
a monster.
Oh, J.K. Rowling gave me permission. It's not a unicorn, though some believe the unicorn myth sprang from this
is it the
creature.
narwhal?
Narwhal! Absolutely right. And
very good.
I'm pretty sure that's made up.
Yeah.
What is a narwhal?
This guy.
There it is.
What?
I know. Isn't it astonishing? I think it's been glued on by someone at the Natural History Unit in Bristol, but it is a real creature. It's a whale, and the word narwhal means dead body, nar, in Norse, because it's a rather grey, unappetising-looking flesh. But what do you think it is? Do you think it's horn or tooth or what?
I imagine it's hair. It's always hair, isn't it?
In this case, it isn't. It is actually a tooth. It's a tooth without enamel. It is a single tooth that bursts out of it. I mean, it's phenomenal. And nobody quite knows, A, why it's corkscrewed, and what it's for. The assumption people make, because it's on the male, must be, therefore, that it's for fighting other males for the right to mate. But nobody's ever observed to... Oh, well, hang on. No, they rub them together as a sort of bonding thing, so it's not fighting. They don't...
They rub them together as a bonding sort of thing.
Yeah. They've been to private school.
Keep on telling yourself that, Steve.
It's the only way they ever get to chew.
In
They
fact,
get a grate between them.
They're
and
very
kind
much the Ken Dodd of the
they are, aren't they? They actually eat their food by sort of hoovering it up and just inhaling it, virtually. They're not krill eaters like a lot of the larger whales. But it's fascinating that a creature like that, you know, we think we cover the world with our natural history documentaries and so on, the whole channel's devoted to it, and people go out in boats and they quietly watch things, but we still just don't know what that's for. And that's, I think it's rather nice when there's a mystery about animals. Yeah. We're very grateful to Raph Valls, who lent us his snooker, Q, and...
Maybe they are just attractive to the female.
It may be that. Yeah,
maybe
it may just be
I
that.
like your one.
And finally, who fancies a quantum-locking levitation lark? And to help me tonight, we have Professor Andrew Boothroyd of the Physics Department of Oxford University. Hello, Andrew! So, here we go. This is going to go over my head, so I'm going to duck. Ta-da! There it is. Exciting tray, and what looks like a bit of sort of scale-electric. And let's just line it up there. Now, we've got a little bucket here. What's in this bucket, Andrew?
That's a bucket of liquid nitrogen.
Liquid nitrogen, which, as you know, is extremely cold. And I'm going to dip a rose into it, just to show how cold it is. I better put these gloves on first.
All right.
Health and safety.
Eston Blumenthal, make it
and these, all safety, 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 safety.
Well, as long as you're safe, that's the main thing.
Yeah, quite. Here we go. So, I'm going to dip a rose into this. You might have had this... Ooh, bubbles away. It's really cold now. And it might even shatter. Look at that, like glass.
Shall I not touch the bit that's landed on me?
No.
So it's burning into your skin.
It shatters like glass.
I've got a little wart on my finger. Is this a chance to burn it off?
You might get a little
And the rest of your hand.
It'd be a great way of dumping someone on Valentine's Day.
So, what have we got here, Andrew?
We've got here a piece of ordinary-looking black ceramic, which,
Yeah.
when we cool it down to very low temperatures, acquires a very extraordinary property.
OK.
So if you just like to cool it down with liquid nitrogen...
I shall baste it with liquid nitrogen.
Oh, my word.
There we are.
And we have a second one over here.
All right.
Do that one too.
We'll cool that as well.
This is like the beginning of every pop video in the 80s.
Tell me what's particular about
It,
this.
it loses all its resistance, its electrical resistance, and becomes what's known as a superconductor.
Ah, yes.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that it acquires the property that it can bend magnetic field lines in such a way that it will always try to resist any motion, even if that means hovering above the ground.
All right, so let's just pick it up and pop it. Whoops. There it goes.
Oh! Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? And
Literally.
That makes no effect, and you can just give it a tip.
Oh, that's very strange.
There we are. And as it warms up, it'll slowly sink.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Is this what you do most days at the Oxford University?
Almost every day.
Yeah, not a bad old job.
This one here is very exciting. And now it's nice and slidey.
Oh, wow.
But look at this.
And what's happening there? What's making it...
It's the magnetic field, isn't it? It's interrupted by this superconductivity.
It's not like a normal magnet, because a normal magnet would repel when it's up that way, and then it would just fall off.
Yeah.
So this is both repelling and attracting at the same time.
I'll give it one more little go, and then we can try it on the track.
I thought you were going to say, then we can try it on Alan.
No! Upside down in a bucket of nitrogen.
There we go. Pop it there.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Round it goes.
That's good.
That's amazing.
Isn't it good?
It looks like... Can someone pass the sellotape?
And it's got a steam train. It can go the other way. We could put the wrong type of leaf on the track.
And is this going to get us to Mars? That's the main
Well,
question.
what do you think, Andrew? Are there any practical applications we can think of?
Well, you could use it as a piece of transport like that, but it's quite expensive because of the cost of cooling the nitrogen.
Oh, right, so it's not efficient.
But if we could find a superconductor that worked at room temperature, then it would be viable.
Right.
Are you working on that?
We are, yes, indeed, yes, I am.
I trust you.
I bet they're not. They're just playing with this all the time. That's what I'm doing.
I know, isn't it gorgeous? So you'd think it would almost be like a maglev train, you know, one of those...
That's what it would be like.
Oh, there we go again.
Oh,
I love that. And this, of course, can go on here as well.
Oh, it's...
Too scared. It's all right. What a pussy.
Everyone, that actually...
Boing.
But
unfortunately, this one is less insulated, and it'll probably get... It's stopped.
It's doing pretty well.
Oh, my God, that's coming for me. Oh, no.
Cool. Oh, there you go.
That'd be like the best Christmas present in the world.
It's so useful with the sausages for Germany at a particular time in history that people were banned from eating them, and they were banned in Poland, in Austria, in northern France.
Were they using them as part of the war effort?
Yes, World War I. The Germans had a very impressive weapon which terrorised London.
The Bratwurst lasso, which is a human head off at 100
The
paces.
Zeppelin is exactly right. The Graf Zeppelin, the Count Zeppelin invented this...
Are you saying that's one enormous sausage?
What made it lighter than air?
Helium.
Not helium, no. Hydrogen. That's why they were so dangerous and so combustible, because hydrogen is very combustible. And they would go over London, and the chappie at the bottom there in the little gondola would drop a bomb.
Really lovely. The little chappie would go over London.
But the thing is, the hydrogen would easily leak from the patches, and they found that sausage skins would go over the joins, and they would latch onto each other, a bit like Velcro. They would stick to each other, and they'd seal the whole thing, so the hydrogen wouldn't leak. Well, now...
Got more bad news for pigs.
It was cattle rather than pigs. It was beef sausages.
So they would just fly like an apocalyptic cow balloon over the top of London and just drop...
bullets would go through, and there wouldn't be enough to bring it down. And it took 2 years for the British to learn how to use incendiary bullets to cause the hydrogen to blow up.
Were they ever struck by lightning?
Yes. 3 Zeppelins were downed by lightning. Yeah, how about that?
That's brilliant. It shows that God was on our side.
250,000 cows they used per Zeppelin. That's pretty impressive.
Wow. So 250,000 cows went into the making of a Zeppelin?
Which is why they had to stop the Germans, the Austrians, the Poles and those in northern France at the time from getting their sausages.
What a shame they didn't do a big cow's face on the front of it.
No, that would be brilliant.
They just don't have those artistic flourishes, the Germans, do they? Everything's very functional.
That was my problem with the Nazis.
Well, there we are. The linings in German airships caused a sausage shortage in World War I. We'll show you how your senses can deceive. Right. So, Alan and Jack, you should each have a rubber hand and a little grey wooden partition. Alan will explain and Jack will explain.
Really? I'm not quite au fait with prosthetics, but I'll give it a crack. Oh, my hand here. I see.
That's it. You can stand up, Jack, if you like.
Oh, yeah, I forgot what I'm doing. Okay, this goes here.
And just this one, I just put it...
Yeah, like that.
OK, what you've got here is a perfectly obvious real hand, your right hands, and a perfectly obvious fake hand. And you've each got a brush. So all I want you to do is brush each hand sort of simultaneously. And what you should feel, Adam and Sarah...
Excruciating pain.
is that...
As I jab hard into the hand. It's they're raw. Sarah, scream!
We'll come to that. At the moment, just a gentle rubbing. Eventually...
This hand will fall off.
Eventually, you will feel in the rubber hand the same sensation you feel in your real hand, which seems extraordinary.
Yeah.
But you will. And let me know when you do.
OK.
It may not have happened yet.
And then you will
you have to keep going. Sorry. You have to keep going.
I'm doing I'm keeping going. I'm keeping going.
Have you started to feel
I'm
it?
now starting to feel that this is my hand.
That's it. That's what happens.
Having trouble
Are
distinguishing.
you not, Sarah?
No.
You're not feeling anything?
No.
Keep going, Alan.
Oh, that's nice.
You like?
Yeah.
So you can feel that in the rubber hand?
Lower. Yeah, definitely. Lower.
You play your cards right, might get a happy ending with this.
You're not feeling anything, Sarah?
It feels very much like my hand, like a separate...
Oh, now it does feel like your hand.
No, not that hand. My hand feels
Well,
like
that would do, yes.
My hand has never felt more like it belongs to me.
I'm going faster.
I think that will help.
OK, I got it! I've got it! Faster is better. Keep on saying.
Right. It really does feel like it. It's bizarre, isn't it? It's genuinely bizarre. And now you can get out the other brush.
What?
What?
They've got... That's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing, because I didn't believe it was going to happen.
No, you didn't believe. That's what's so good, is you really didn't believe. It doesn't matter how much you know your hand is fake. It doesn't matter how much you know it's rubber. The effect works. You see it, you see that it's a clear fake, but extraordinary, the brain overrides what it knows with what it feels. That's to say, the cognitive side.
That's not that he's just next to a slightly mal-coordinated man-child with a rubber hand.
We can show you a replay of Adam's reaction here, because we've actually got it here. If you watch this here...
Oh, that shirt is awful.
That is genuine. And the... it's made all the more extraordinary by the fact, of course, you, as is well known, have a prosthetic foot.
I do indeed.
And so you are used to all the cliches there are about prosthesis and about phantom limbs and all the rest of it. And as you well know from wartime, the screams of pain people had once they'd been amputated in the limbs that no longer existed. They swore that their shins or their feet...
And having itches in a limb you can't
Itches. Can't imagine anything more agonising than having an itch in something you can't scratch. How many moons does the Earth have?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Most definitely only one.
Oh, dear. Of course. It had to be that.
Of course.
Yep.
Well, it is the moon. I think I'm with him.
Yeah.
They've changed. They call it... Well, the moon's around, clearly around other
moon
planets.
in June, all them songs, come on, they're all about the moon.
Lots of orbiting objects, aren't there? Some of them are really...
There are lots of orbiting objects, yeah. We gave an argument there were hundreds last time to confuse you, but there's another argument which seems quite compelling and interesting, certainly, which is that there are none. Which is to say that the moon is not a moon. The moon actually qualifies...
We've just discovered it's turquoise, and now it's not there.
It qualifies... it's there, but it maybe qualifies as a planet. A wanderer, a planet, because...
Well, the clangers lived on it, didn't they? We know that. and all that.
Well, in order to be a planet, the International Astronomical Union in 2006 laid down definitions. These were the ones that booted out Pluto, I think. So it has to orbit the sun. Right. It has to be massive enough for its own gravity to make it round. It has to have cleared its neighbourhood of smaller objects. The moon comfortably fulfills the first two. On the third, it makes more sense to say that the Earth and moon together have cleared their neighbourhood. The Earth certainly hasn't cleared the Moon, so they are a binary system, like binary stars.
Like lichen.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a genuine possibility some people... And the sun's gravitational effect on the Moon is more than twice that of the Earth's. So we don't have nearly as much gravitational effect. So there is a good reason to suspect that we are actually in possession of a fellow planet.
It goes round the Earth.
The Earth orbits the Moon as well.
What?
Yeah.
Is it?
I know. Go just use an asteroid. So we've been consistently inconsistent about this, but tonight we're saying that the Earth doesn't have a moon at all. So there.